Yeah, and it's just some random one-off action movie. Surely it won't revitalize the action movie genre as a whole and become a wildly successful IP in like 7 or 8 years' time. Holy shit! Got that Montreal shirt for Keanu Reeves, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jonathan, and this is my trash heap. A place where I talk about anything and everything that interests me on any given day. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are bringing you another movie review. And if you couldn't already guess by the fact that I've said the name of an actor and the name of a movie and you've read the title of this video, we're reviewing John Wick Chapter 4 today. And I'm very excited to bring you this review because I'm going to basically just gush about this movie. Let's get into it. This is going to be a spoiler review. I'm going to put that in the title of the video, but I'm still going to put this little disclaimer in the video before I get into anything relating to the movie. Spoiler warning, you've been warned. Please don't watch this video if you haven't seen the movie. I'm begging you. Go see the movie first, and then come back and watch this. Please, because this movie is spectacular. Starting out this video with the good of John Wick 4, and when I say that I could summarize this entire section into one word, I'm not kidding. What is good about John Wick 4? Everything. Everything in this movie is spectacular. Obviously, I'm not just going to leave it at that because in this video would be 5 minutes. So, let's break it down a little bit more. First of all, the action scenes. I mean, this movie and this franchise as a whole has this trend of every time they do something, or specifically an action scene, every time they do an action scene, you're always like, oh my god, that's just the greatest thing I've seen. How are they going to one-up this? And then the next one you see, you're like, oh my god, they one-upped it. How are they going to one-up this? And then the next one you see. And this movie does that to a T. Literally, from the second that the movie starts, I mean, you're just drawn in with the action. I mean, it doesn't start out on an action scene. I mean, it sort of kind of does. He's like chasing people on horseback, and then it kind of gets into more of the action scene. There's a little bit of talking, and then it gets into the Osaka scenes, which, I mean, literally, I'm sitting in the theater, I'm watching the Osaka scenes, and I'm like, there's no way that, like, this is great. Like, how are they going to make this any better in the rest of the movie? And then literally every subsequent action scene, like the scene where they're playing cards with the big guy, and he, you know, he does the thing on his neck. That, and then the staircase scene, and then the Arc de Triomphe scene, like, oh my god, it's insane. I mean, it's literally just insane to sit here and think, like, every single action scene in the John Wick franchise, and specifically this movie, I'm like, you just continue to one-up and one-up and one-up yourself. And they do that again in this. This is some of the finest action in the series. There's this one near the end of the movie where it's like an overhead type shot, so think like Dead Ops Arcade from Black Ops 1. I don't know why that's the first overhead perspective that I got, or like some of the older GTA games where it's the overhead perspective. They have an entire fight scene in that perspective. If I can find some footage of it, I'll put it up on the screen right now. I don't know if it exists, and I won't get copyrighted for it. It does, I just don't know if I'll get copyright, but that entire scene, it's a lengthy sequence. It's like 3, 4, 5 minutes of just this overhead shot of him going through this building and just shooting people with explosive shotgun shells, and it's just the most insane thing until the next one, and they continue to do that so well. I cannot praise the action scenes in this movie and franchise as a whole enough. The next great thing that this movie does, among many other things, is the continued expansion of the world building and I think anybody can agree that along with the action, the world building of John Wick, the franchise, is why the movies are so great. Because when you watch the first movie, it, you know, at first it just kind of seems like this, it's just traditional classic type of action movie, you know. Man goes on a killing rampage, he's unkillable, he's this, you know, god tier assassin, yada yada yada. But as the franchise goes on, more and more they develop the criminal underground and the world building, like, you know, the Continental and the managers and, you know, the rules and the consequences and the adjudicators and the harbingers. And this movie just continues to build on that. It continues to expand on that, like with main or the, you know, the conclusion, the main focus of part of the movie is this new rule introduced to the universe, not a new rule within the universe, but this new rule that's coming up for the first time within our view of the universe of, you can just challenge him to a duel to get your freedom. And, like, you know, you could argue, well, why didn't that come up sooner? I don't know. It didn't need to come up sooner. I mean, that wasn't the point before, but that's why I do love this universe, because there continue to be layers as each movie comes out and new rules get introduced into the universe. You slowly start seeing how deep this criminal organization really is, or this criminal, you know, syndicate, this world, this whole other world within the John Wick universe, this underground, the table, everybody under the table, the hotels, all that stuff is just so intricate and well done. Like, I loved like, obviously it was established that there are different, like, continentals, but, like, to spend the beginning of the movie in a continental in Japan instead of New York was just, it was so cool. It was so cool to see, like, yeah, this is something that is so much broader than just John Wick himself or the people. It's like there's this whole crazy thing in this universe, and this movie does a really good job of just continuing to expand and build upon this lore that it has in the universe. And that's one other great thing that this movie does. And then, of course, as a result of how well this world building works within the movie, a lot of that is achieved through great acting. And this is again a blanket for the entire John Wick franchise, but obviously I'm talking about the fourth one here. Just the performances and the characters are incredible. Kane, Mr. Nobody, Lawrence Fishburne, John Wick, just everybody in this movie is just, it just feels so alive and well done, because the actors and the actresses are just putting their all into these roles, and every character just feels so complex and layered. Even the ones that don't say much or don't have to do much or don't have much to do within the world, they just feel so intricate. And a big part of that is the acting and the writing of the characters. It's just, it's so well done. And this goes for the entire franchise, but specifically in this movie, it's so well done. The acting and the performances are just incredible. Just I don't know what to say. Everybody plays their role perfectly. And finally, moving more into the film nerd stuff to talk about with this movie. The technical stuff in this movie is incredible. The sound is really good. The intro where he's just punching the wood thing. The sound in that is just so well done. The impact is really well, sounded. I mean, I don't know what the technical term for that is, but like throughout the whole movie, the use of sound, and then further along, like the music and the score is really, 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 really good and helps to flesh out the world and give it its signature feel. Also, I mean, the cinematography and the lighting within this movie, there's some really, really nice shots. I'll try and put a couple up on the screen. The one where he's standing in front of the Osaka Continental with him here, and then the cherry blossom to his left, and then the red behind him is just, ooh, it's an incredible shot. I mean, that's a great shot. There's so many others within the movie, and then like just the lighting in general in the John Wick series has always been really good, but again, I keep referencing the series as a whole in relation to this movie, and you'll see why in the final thoughts segment, but the lighting in this is just great. There's so many great uses of how the light works and how it reflects and how it just lights certain characters and just how it bounces, and there's so many times where I'm just like, wow, you know, I'm just like looking at it and it's like you're just using light. Like I can just use my light right here. It's brighter, it's darker, you know, but they do it so expertly well. And like I said, cinematography, sound, lighting, all of that stuff is just so well done in this movie. So if you've looked at the chapters for this video, you might notice that this section is incredibly short, because I don't think there's anything bad in this movie, and I legitimately mean that. I cannot sit here and think of anything within this movie that I don't like. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not lying. I'm not, you know, it's not hyperbole. I legitimately cannot think of anything in this movie that I didn't like. So empty segment, I guess. So I made reference earlier that when we get to the final thoughts section, I would explain why I keep referencing the series as a whole. And the most obvious answer to that is, well, it's an installment into a series. You would, of course, want to mention the movies that came before it. And while that is true, the main reason why I keep referencing the other three movies when I'm talking about Chapter 4 is because, to me, Chapter 4 is the perfect John Wick movie. It takes everything good about the first three and just does it at the highest level. I mean, I think that all of the John Wick movies are great. I think that they're all peak action movies. They're, like I've said, the world building, the action, the fighting, this, you know, all of that stuff. These movies are just so good, and John Wick Chapter 4 does it the best of all of them. And it's not like it's a, you know, like a runaway, not because of it not being good, but because of them all just being at such a high level. I think that this does everything from the franchise that we've come to know and love the best. And one thing that I didn't touch on in the good section that I want to talk about right now is the length. It's a 2-hour and 50-minute movie, and that can be pretty daunting. Why do you need to make a John Wick movie that long? It does not feel that long. It legitimately does not feel like you're in the theater for almost 3 hours. It is paced super well. It never drags. You can, if you really want to nitpick, you really want to get in there, it's like, oh, some of the scenes of them walking are too long, or they're too drawn out, and it's like, pish posh. That's nitpicking. You can cut those down and save, what, 5-10 minutes at most. It's paced so well that it doesn't feel like a 3-hour movie. It feels just like the other ones, but you're getting more in the movie. So, I mean, final thoughts, this movie is just perfect. It's a perfect John Wick movie. It's a perfect action movie. I think it's a perfect movie. My final rating, surprisingly, is a 10 out of 10. But that's just how I view it. If you have a different opinion, let me know. If you agree with me, also let me know. I'd love to engage in discussion and discourse about this movie. Based on the Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, Metacritic general consensus field of the internet, I think I am in the majority opinion here, but I am always welcome to engage in discussion with differing or agreeing opinions. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram, Jonathan's Trash Heap, same as my YouTube channel, and I will see you all in the next one.